Yes, so it teaches you control. It teaches you to be expressive, yet in a subdued way, because the essential philosophy of Manipuri is devotion and surrendering yourself. So then, Tandav, you jump. It's more vigorous, and your movements are a little bit more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but more forceful, more vigorous. Yet you would have to maintain that softness, so that one thing is when you land on the ground, you shouldn't make noise. So you would need that energy to execute in that way.
This is Built by Grit, where we celebrate hard work, courage, and the people who never give up. Real journeys, real lessons, real grit. Let's get started. I'm your host, Deepa. Welcome back to Built by Grit, a space for persistence without pressure, dedication without force, and the quiet act of returning to your work until practice begins to feel like play and play becomes a meditative process. I am Deepa, and today I am in conversation with Chandreyee Mukherjee. Chandreyee grew up in a home filled with music, art, and movement. Her relationship with dance began early, but that's not what stands out. But what stands out in her journey is not how young she started. It's how she has stayed with her artwork, rooted deeply in Manipuri dance and defined further by theater, storytelling, and Odyssey. Her practice feels less like performance and more like a way of living with an art form. She balances many lives: artist, a day job, mother, and yet continues to meet dance not as something to prove, but as something to dwell in. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you, Deepa, and I'm feel very humbled and honored that you've invited me to your channel, and I'm looking forward to the conversation.
I really appreciate you taking the time to sit down and share your journey, not just the visible milestones, but the quieter parts of living with the dance and building creative work and staying in relationship with the art form across different seasons of your life. You are a mom, you have a full-time job. I'm just really looking forward to this conversation to really understand, how it is that you juggle so many different things and still stay true to the art form, right? So that's what I'm really hopefully, trying to have a conversation on. You grew up surrounded by music, art, and dance, movement, however you want to position yourself. When you look back, what do you feel first? The structure of training or the atmosphere of just simply living with art? What stands out for you?
I think, it's something that we need to deeply think about and reflect. But it's interesting that you say so because, as you said, I was born into a family where art was all around me. So my mother was a musician. She still teaches music. And so there were constantly classes going on and rehearsals, and I performed. So when you say structure and atmosphere, I don't think I can differentiate the two. I think it both contributes to shaping an artist and also the individual who is the artist. And so in terms of the structure, it's something that helps you lay the strong foundation. It's the learnings from our parents, which is deeply rooted in technique and all the wisdom that they pass down to us. And the atmosphere, an artist grows not only by learning what they're teaching them, but also imbibing that craft and the inspiration the artist gains from the learnings from the gurus, from other artists they work with. So I think both works together hand in hand, and we cannot separate one from the other. So I think for me too, it's a combination of both these aspects which are deeply intertwined with each other.
As a child, learning Manipuri dance, how did that feel like?
Yeah, so I started learning at a very young age. I think I was 5 or 6. So my mother is a nurse. She's a musician. So I grew up where, we would have music classes, and I would sit in her classes along with her students when she's doing voice training or teaching. And so it was all around me. So music was all around me. And I don't know, but I was told that when there was music on in the radio or on the record player or something, my grandmother noticed that I would move and, make gestures or something. So then she and my mom thought that maybe it would be a good thing for me to go into dancing, that I would enjoy.
Classical
So I don't think it was a particular purpose in mind. Manipuri is, I I think my cousin was learning Manipuri from my Guruji, Gurudev Jani Chaliha, and it was just a natural path that I joined her. So I was very little, so I just went with where I was enrolled with, and I just loved dancing. And I don't remember that I didn't want to go into a class, or I felt it was a fun place for me to
Fun
be,
place
and
for you.
my Guruji too when I was learning. So I think
Right.
initially I was learning. I was trying to kind of follow what she said, how she moved,
Mm-hmm.
and I was also getting familiar because it was something new for me. But I think I enjoyed it. It was just not the dancing. It's the way my Guruji taught us. She was very
Got it.
strict, particular about technique. Yet she would say that in very few words, and we would get it. And then it's fun when I think back at it. And then at the end of the dance class, we would go out and have pani puri. So yeah, it was.
There you go. There's an incentive. Since you brought up, your Guruji, I would love to learn about your lineage. Who are your gurus throughout the process of Manipuri and now Odissi, and now you're involved in a lot of other different theater and expressions and storytelling.
Yeah, everything that I do, I am deeply grateful to all my gurus. So I've started Manipuri dancing with my guru Dev Jani Chaliho, who was a disciple of Guru Amobi Singh. He was one of the pioneers in bringing and developing the classical dance
Mm-hmm.
of Manipuri as we know it today. And then, so I learned Manipuri all throughout, like when I was 6, and I've been doing that even now. So, and when I go back to India, I often visit her, and
Nice.
I kind of trying to brush some of the things that I've fallen behind on. There are times where there was a lag, there was a hiatus, but I try to keep up with it as much as possible. I do also follow other artists, but I was also very interested in Odissi when I was
Mm-hmm.
growing up at an age of life. And at one point, when I wanted to start that, my Guruji told me, Gurudev Jani Chalia, that you're still developing, so it's not a good idea to do two forms at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So once I completed Manipuri, and then actually when I came to United States, my aunt she's also trained in Odissi, and she's a teacher in New Jersey. So I started with her a little bit. And then when we moved to California, I joined Guru Shraddha, Srimati Niharika Mohanty, my Guruji, we call her. And that's where I got my training in Odissi.
Odissi.
And yeah, and then I think both my gurus, I'm very grateful for them because they've taught me the basic foundations, the strong techniques, and that I can use to build upon for anything that I do. And I've also been taking workshops from Srimati Tanushree Shankar from Dodai Shankar Dance Tag. And that's also something that I loved to do because it incorporates element of classical dance forms, and a lot of it is Manipuri and a lot of it is Odissi. So in some sense, whatever I've learned so far from my gurus, I find an application in these creative forms as well.
Awesome.
So
Awesome. So for someone who might not be very familiar with the origins of Manipuri, can you educate us on where does Manipuri originate from?
So Manipuri, yes, so it comes from the northeastern part of India, and in some sense, it's a very ancient dance form. Yet it's one of a relatively younger classical dance forms. So it started back in say some 2,000 years ago from the pre-Vaishnava area of Manipur, when Manipur was not following Gauriya Vaishnavism. And the root dances were called the Laiharauba, or the dance of the gods. So they were more like nature. And around the 18th century, Maharaja Bhagya Chandra. So he was the one who introduced and worked with the gurus to develop the dance form, the classical dance form as we know it today. But these were based on the Laiharauba movements and developed. And then when Vaishnavism came into Manipur around that time, and it was introduced by Maharaja Bhagya Chandra, it's when the influence of the Vaishnavite Shastras came on the Manipuri dancing. And so you would see the dance to compositions of Jayadev, Vidyapati, and that's how it evolved. But dance also is something which was done in the temples. It's a form of worship. It's a way of life. It's deep devotion, bhakti ras. So it's something that is even done there in Manipur today for every aspect of their life. So it's part of their life. And it's not that people who dance are all trained dancers, but they participate in these dances. And like the Ras dances, they're done at different times of the year, depending on the lunar calendar. And it's like a all-night event. It plays a very important part of their lives and part of their spirituality, and it's very devotional.
Awesome. And also makes me want to. I have never personally been to northeastern side of India. Always been on my list of places to visit. So hopefully when I go there, I will get a chance to experience this art form in the temples. And I
It
always
is,
seek for these kind of experiences when we go.
yeah, and so from what I hear, and that it's part of their lives. It's everywhere,
Hmm.
during the festival, even in their houses, they are always performing these dances. So it's
Wow.
very much integrated into their culture.
Wow, that's awesome. So Manipuri, at least that's my perception, I would encourage you to challenge me here. It feels like it asks the dancer to be softer, and it's more inwardly. At least that's how it comes across. And how has this form defined your relationship, your breath, your rhythm, and with your stillness?
It is indeed a very soft flowing form. And it's what it teaches you is a lot of control.
Mm,
So when you say breath, it's rhythm and stillness, they're all intertwined together, but there is some kind of a quietness in it, but there is a lot of strength in it as well.
mm,
So Manipuri, unlike most of the other forms, has very distinct, two different distinct styles. The Tandav part of it, which is more masculine, vigorous style, and then the Lasya, which is more gentle. They do complement each other, and it requires different skill sets, so to say. Yet, even if you're doing the Tandav, you have to have a strong core. You will jump, but you still have to be gentle in some sense. And again, Tandav, there are different kinds. The one that you see in Ras, where the Krishna dances, it's the
mhm,
soft and traditional. Then we have the Sankirtana, where you have the Cholams, where the dancers are dancing with the mridangam or the pung, and they're making the leaps. So that's a little bit more acrobatic in nature. Then we have the Thangta, which is the martial arts. So that's different. But yes, so it teaches you control. It teaches
mhm.
you to be expressive, yet in a subdued way, because the essential philosophy of Manipuri is devotion and surrendering yourself. So, as I've heard, sometimes it's been said that a Manipuri dancer, it's not that you're performing, it's
Mm.
an offering. And so, basic sense of surrender and devotion has to be there. And so, I think that's what defines
God,
practice of
God.
any Manipuri dance.
Awesome. As a dancer and a choreographer, how do you experience Lasya and Tandava in your own body?
So they're slightly different, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes the amount of energy to do it. So in the last year, one thing is you do have the gentle moves, with sways, and it's very lyrical in nature. And you would have to have your knees together. You cannot have your knees apart. Then
Mm. Okay.
Tandav, you jump, it's more vigorous, and your movements a little bit more, I wouldn't say aggressive, but more forceful, more vigorous.
Mm. Mm.
Yet you would have to maintain that softness, so that one thing is when you land on the ground, you shouldn't make a noise. So you would need that energy to execute in that way. Um,
Mm.
so
How do
you
you
would
do
have,
that? Is it more of a core control
it
from
is a
the
core control.
body?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And also another aspect of Manipuri is that both the forms cannot be done in the same costume. The costume is very different, because when
Ah.
we wear something called a fanik. It's like a straight skirt, which, and you have to have your knees together, and you're a little bit more constrained. So that is not what we can wear when we do the tanda, which needs more
Mm.
broad and open movements.
Mm.
So that is also something which is very typical of Manipuri. So everything that you do, the costume is different.
Mm.
Um, so we have to let ourselves go a little bit when we do Tandav. So to make that distinction, yet remember the basic premise. of Manipuri, which is devotion and softness, and try to bring
So, do
that together.
you classify Manipuri as more of a devotional form as opposed to like a classical dance form, unlike Bharatanatyam or Mohiniyattam or some other classical
I think
forms out there?
what we call by a classical dance form, or maybe in my knowledge, what it's defined as, it's something which is following the Natya Shastra in
Mm-hmm.
some way.
Yes, right.
So we do have those elements there, the mudras, but it's slightly different from many of the other forms. For
Mm,
example, the expression, so the abhinaya is
mm,
different. So it does the nritya and the natya, but it's slightly executed in a different way than in some of the other dance forms. Like in
mm.
Bharatanatyam, the abhinaya is very strong, like, the overt
Yes.
expression of the right face, the sera, the drishti. Even in Odissi, it is slightly less than Bharatanatyam, but it's still there. But in Manipuri, you're supposed to, it's called Anga Bhinaya. So your
Mm,
abhinaya is through costume, of course, like, Aharya Rasa, as it's called. And then your entire body movement should try to convey your expression. But we don't make like overt expressions of the eyes. So it's through very simple, because again, it is a dance of devotion. The basic premise is devotion. It's the bhakti ras, but it still follows the classical elements that are there in Natya
I see.
Shastra.
I see.
Anyway.
Got it, got it. I actually love that idea that the strength doesn't always have to look forceful. What you're
Mhm.
explaining is like, the fact that you said that you land softly, you should not hear the sound. Sometimes it comes across as like, even though it's the Tandava essentially expresses strength, it's very contained, right? That's how
Mhm.
I'm interpreting this. And I just love the way that you also, how you explained the difference between Bharatanatyam, like the Natya Shastra based dance form versus Manipuri. Thanks so much for grounding me here. These are all new learnings for me as well. You performed Shyama at a very young age, a role that needed deep emotional presence. Looking back, what did that experience teach you? You must have been really young at that age.
It was about 12 or 13, and I think it was a very important milestone in my life as a dancer. This is because prior to that, I've been
Chandreyee,
learning.
before we go there, can people may not fully understand what a shama means. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, so this is a dance drama written by Rabindranath Tagore.
Mm-hmm.
So Shyama is a central character in that story, and basically the message from that story is the good and the evil, and it's the
Mm,
relationship between the hero, the Vajrasen, and it's kind of a love story that evolves.
mm-hmm.
So we had in our school, we would have these dance drama productions, and um, around yeah, I was around 12 or 13 then, and we were staging Shyama, and I was selected for that role.
Mm.
And it a process of audition, so I don't know how I was selected, but I was. But it was a big responsibility for me, because prior to that, I've been mostly doing Manipuri dancing. I've also been dancing to Rabindranath Tagore songs and Rabindra Sangeet, which was heavily influenced by Manipuri as well. And our dance teacher, our dance director, had a very strong Bharatanatyam background. So all his
Mm,
choreography did include steps where, it had other dance forms which I personally not had been exposed to. So it was a big, like a great learning experience for me to let myself go. As I said, Manipuri was controlled, and then when we do the expression, it has to be subdued. But here I was acting as well. So that really helped me in many ways in trying to even understand Manipuri better, and how,
mm,
I saw it as a style different from another form that I was doing. And I think it was a very wonderful experience for me. And even I was very young. I don't think I felt all that I'm telling you now, but I now realize that it was a very happy experience for me. But I think looking back, I feel that, I could find myself more as a dancer and understand what I could do
mm.
more. And that interested me in some of the other dance forms as well. So it was a very important milestone in my life and
Milestone.
as a dancer.
Got it, got it. Later, you also explored theater and other physical movement. What shifted for you in how you tell stories through body, especially in the work that you do today?
So I think whenever I do a form that is different from what I've been trained in,
Mm-hmm.
I see myself going back to my basic training and understanding of uh, the physical aspect of that dance. So, what I can do with my body for what is required in the context of, what is being created. But, however, whenever I create something, I think I tend to go back to my training in the
Mm.
dance form I've been trained in. That's Manipuri and Odissi, and that's where, because I feel I have confidence in those forms. So I tend to bring in elements of those dance forms mostly. However, that you talk about physical theater. So recently I've been working with theater that's called the third theater, where it involves a lot of physical movement, but that
Ah.
theatrical choreography, it's like physical movement as opposed to dance choreography per
Mm.
se. But I think it's everything that I learned as a dancer. It all helps me to express myself through movement, even in theater. So,
Got it. That makes
um,
sense.
I just all my learnings and experience, and
Mm-hmm.
just as is needed for.
Nice. So there were phases when you probably stepped away from active performance and later returned. So how did you come back? How was that experience for you?
So I think the first time I came back to dance, I did take a little break when I came here as a graduate student, and I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
where
Mm-hmm.
much of an opportunity. And after my son was born, my aunt in New Jersey, she inspired me that if, because I missed dancing and I missed being, part of that art environment. So she was the one, he said, like, you have to get out and start it again.
Mm.
So I would deeply grateful for her for that. And then I started dancing, and then I think I'm very passionate about dance, and any opportunity that came my way, I would do it, and I enjoyed it so much that it was just a feeling of joy and excitement that I
Mm.
was able to do it again. And I think when I practice art, it's a lot of it is for me than, that if I don't do it, I miss it. I was missing it in my life. So that was what motivated me to continue.
Come
And
back.
I came into the Bay Area, and I had the opportunity to learn from Rinyapa, from Srimati Niharika Mahanti. And then there are a lot of activities going on, and I have been able to do it. So, yeah, I just continued and tried my best to.
Yeah, and I think especially in the Bay Area, we have this large community, right? Like any cultural activity that you want to do, dance or music or instruments, there's always another person that you can pair with. And this community actually helps in getting out of some difficult situations if you have any. I think that matters a lot. So you balance a demanding professional life alongside your artistic work and running a dance group, Kriti. How do these worlds quietly support each other?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, that when I grew up, I was surrounded by art, and it's just a way of my life. And so I think unconsciously, all my decisions that I have taken so far, whether it's in my professional life, it's something that will always be conducive to me practicing my art
Mm-hmm.
in some sense. So I'm a trained, I'm in biotechnology. I've been working in the labs a lot.
Mm.
And then in some way there is a connection where I am able to balance both.
Mm.
Uh, and it's my family support is
Right.
there. There are a lot of friends who support, and there are a lot of us here who are very busy professionally as well as, but we are very passionate about our art and our form. So we all support each other. So in that way, I think it's been very helpful to find that balance and
Got it.
maintain a professional side as well as practice.
We all see the performance, the beautiful performances, colorful performances on the stages. But behind the
Mhm.
scenes, you're probably putting in a lot of work, and that work is invisible. Nobody really sees what goes on behind the scenes. What does your day-to-day, typical practice schedule look like? What is that invisible work that you are putting in?
So I think it depends on, right now, if there is a production that we have to be part of, it's, as you rightly said, there's a lot of brainstorming sessions that go on. And then if we are choreographing a dance, we would have to think about the music that goes with it and the overall vision that we're trying to put forward, especially when we're doing collaborative programs. It's just not what I'm thinking, it's what,
Mm-hmm.
it has to fit what everyone else is thinking. So it's different aspects of it that come together and you keep working as a group. So yes, we have to find time where we collaborate, we brainstorm, and that's all behind the scene. And then there's uh, these are exciting as well as, let's take up a lot of time when we are putting this together. And then finally, if what we see outside is, what's the outcome of that effort that we've gone behind the scenes. So yes, when there is a production, it gets busy. We have to, I have to take out some time from my day to devote to it outside of my, work, my day job. So but as I said, it's when you work with like-minded individuals, it gets easier and it's a lot of fun, and then you're all thinking towards the same goal, the same direction. So it just makes it more joyful. Yeah.
Yeah, so that group energy keeps you going and it doesn't look like a strain on you, is what you're essentially saying.
Yeah.
Chandra, you talked about collaborations and your dance community here in the Bay Area. What's coming up next for you?
So we are doing a production called Oneness, the Blossoming, where 6 different classical dance forms are coming together to talk about spring and the renewal of life. And through the different forms that we are going to represent here are Kathak, Manipuri, Bharatanatyam, Odissi, Mohiniyattam, and Kuchipuri.
Mm-hmm.
So it is going to be a wonderful production where we are each trying to tell the story through our own styles,
Mm.
yet we are trying to find ways where we are all collaborating together and trying to talk about oneness. So this will be held on February 7th. And then we have another show on May 3rd. And yes, I'm very excited about it. And it's not just the collaboration. And I think personally, I'm also learning a lot from all my co-dancers who are eminent gurus and great dancers in the Bay Area. So I feel very privileged and humbled to be able to participate in this collaboration. So it's and I invite everyone to come and
Yes.
join us for this show on February 7th.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I intend to be there. I would like to meet all of you in person because I'm essentially interviewing all 7 of you who are participating in this Oneness program, in this podcast. So I really want to be there to, witness that wonderful show. I'm curious, Chandreyee, do you also teach Manipuri dance to kids and other adults?
I don't teach formally, but then when we do any choreography, I do work with. I have been mostly working with dancers who've had some level of training. When we formed Kriti, were dancers who got together who had training from before, and so I've been teaching in terms of doing the choreography and how we.
Uh-huh.
And I have actually worked with some dancers who have not had training in Manipuri. So it's not a formal teaching, but I have had to introduce Manipuri to them and the techniques and for the purposes of different productions that we've done. But
Got it. Got
as
it.
of now, I don't have a school where I go through a formal training.
Got it, got it. And I think typically this could be again my perception. Correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the other people in the Bay Area from the Indian background, when they think about dance, it generally tends to go toward either Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi, or Odissi. Can I ask if you're doing anything about like changing that perception or bringing more awareness? Would you like to add something to it?
So yes, so when back into 2013 and 2014 when we saw that when I came to the Bay Area, and I think I was one of the few dancers who had the training in Manipuri. So when there were
Hmm.
um, productions which required Manipuri dancers. So I was able to participate, and I've participated in many activities. And then when I did meet other dancers who had been trained before, we decided to kind of try our best and bring forward productions where we can take it out, take and reach out to the audience in the Bay Area and beyond and spread the word about this dance and bring more awareness and do it in a form that is appealing to the audience and,
Mm-hmm.
include the tradition yet try to innovate. So that has been, a way in which we've been trying to propagate Manipuri and, spread the word in Bay Area and beyond.
Awesome. Thank you. And finally, for someone listening who is either afraid of learning a new dance form or worried about returning back to art or creative work after a break or being a mother or maybe just a long break for whatever reason, what would you tell them?
I think if you are passionate about it, never leave art. Art is waiting for you. And
Yes.
it will take it slowly. It will take time, but especially when it's dancing, you've already spent a lot of years training yourself. So if build that muscle memory within you, it will all come back.
Hmm.
But be gentle with yourself, be patient, work towards going towards that direction and bringing yourself back to a new form of the dance that you've learned, or even if you're learning a new form, it's always very rewarding, and do it for yourself.
Yes.
And at the end of it will show. Your passion will come through.
Yeah, and it's in end of the day, I think any creative form is, at least in this day and age, it's not for making money. It's just for yourself to express your creativity, and it's not about performance, right? I think that's one of the messages that I want to strongly, get across through all my podcasts is forget about the performance. It's for yourself. It's your own spiritual journey. And thank you
Yeah.
so much for reiterating that.
Yeah. It's what brings you peace and happiness, and you definitely should do it. Don't shy away from it.
Yes, thank you. Chandreyee, it was wonderful talking to you, and I learned a few things about Manipuri, and I hope to have you back when your throat feels better, and even you, with your bad throat, you still pulled it off. So I really appreciate your podcast interview today, and I hope to see you in Oneness soon.
Yes, see you, Deepa. Thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure having this conversation with you. See you
Likewise.
soon. Yeah.
Likewise. Thanks for joining me today. If this inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe.